Welcome back to the RSKI channel, everybody. You guys have been asking for a video about my Superjet for a really long time, and today is the day. So we're going to talk in depth about it, and if you're not familiar with my ski, here's a quick 30 seconds showing it in action. So I'm from Nebraska, and I had never even seen the Pacific Ocean when I first rode this thing, and it's extra special for me because I literally dropped everything I was doing, quit my job, moved to Oregon, and brought this thing with me. I did it to ride in the surf and learn how to do it, but this isn't a story about me, this is a story about my ski. So over the years, this thing has been perfected. Hopefully we can save you guys some time and give you some insight on what works for us, and maybe that'll work for you too. One of the main defining features of my Superjet is the tray. The tray on this ski is very special. It is the full width. We cut it out and we widened it all the way to the edge. There is no foam left here. It has two Dakine foot straps, 25 mil pad here, 50 mil pad here, so it's double stacked with a kicktail that I cut. In the front, the foothold is the full width of the tray with no obstructions, and it has a lot of pad on the bottom side to protect your foot if you want to kick in tight. That foothold provides like the ultimate flexibility when moving around in the tray. Anybody can be comfortable in this tray. It is truly versatile. The back of the tray is finished off with a RSKI toe loop. I cut this foam out. I actually use a steak knife. Do this because if you try to clamp with an extra long bow eye like they sell on this, it'll eventually just pull through and looks like crap and doesn't function correctly. So this way it tightens down on the fiberglass. That thing's not going anywhere. My pump is nothing special. It's a Solus 12 vein pump with a Hooker 915 prop. I'm switching to the 1016 on the next ski to try to get a little bit more speed. Hopefully the 1016 is a little better. The ride plate I have on here is custom made, but in the end I don't think it matters that much. It's just got a D-cut and it's flush with the back of the ski. In front of that I just have a Works intake grate, and I don't know which model it is, but just a good quality intake grate helps out a lot for the surf. One thing you'll notice on the back of our skis is that you're never gonna see a scupper. When your ski is right side up, a scupper is awesome. It empties out the ski faster than any bilge pump setup or anything. The downside is when your ski is upside down. I hate to make this reference, but it's the best one I can come up with. If you've ever shotgunned a beer, you understand the problem with a scupper without even knowing it. I want you to imagine that the hole in the top of the can represents all the entry points of the ski where water can come in. So the hood, the handle pole, breather tubes, anywhere that water can get in the ski. I want the bottom part to represent a ski without a scupper. A friend of mine had a Superjet with a scupper, and it flipped upside down. It had an aluminum handle pole, and I had it on GoPro footage, and the ski sank in 17 seconds. I want you to think of the weight of the engine as my hand pulling this down, because the weight of the engine is going to try to pull your ski down. So you flip your ski upside down. Roughly 17 seconds goes by, and you're done. Another thing that ties in with never sinking your ski, did I say never? Okay. Another thing that ties in with being less likely to sink your ski is to have the stock handle pole. Let me explain. A lot of people think that this handle pole is weak and it's going to break. Well, Stuart has broken everything on this entire jet ski, and he is still running a stock handle pole. The guy is rough on stuff, let me tell you. So the handle pull is strong enough. Shit, I almost fell down. If these handle pulls ever break or come loose, they'll break here at the top or at the bottom where the epoxy is. Both are repairable, and don't throw your pole away or send it to us. We can fix it. The thing about a stock handle pull is that it's fiberglass and it's filled with foam, so it's buoyant. If your ski is right side up and you have an aluminum handle pull that weighs, let's say, 10 pounds, that's great. This handle pull probably weighs 8 or 9 pounds, very similar to an aluminum handle pull. It doesn't really matter. The difference is when your ski's upside down. When this ski is upside down, and it has been 100 times, probably like 1,000 times, it rights itself. And the way it rights itself is because this is buoyant. Instead of sitting on its side and then rolling upside down, the handle pull buoyancy rolls the ski on its side, and then the pole kind of goes up and the ski tips up right side up every single time. Then my bilge pumps are emptying the ski. Everything's good. I can swim back to the ski or get towed back to the ski, and it almost always starts. Almost. The contrary scenario to that is if you have an aluminum handle pull and your ski gets upside down, it's not going to flip back over. It's going to stay upside down. And if you've ever been in a sailboat, you understand what a sailboat keel is. A keel hangs down below the bottom of the boat, and it stabilizes the boat with weight. The boat won't tip over when the wind hits the sails. Well, an aluminum handle pull on a ski does the same thing as a keel on a sailboat when the ski's upside down in the water. Now the handle pull is heavy, so it extends down. Imagine my ski's upside down. So the pole is hanging down by the sand, and now it's a keel. The ski is not going to right itself. Another thing to think about is if you have dual breather tubes here in your handle pole and your handle pole is aluminum, now you've got two 2-inch holes that are allowing that water in. So when your ski's upside down, the water is going to come in your handle pole and the air is going to go out your scupper. So you're shotgunning beers and your ski's going to sink. There's two main types of handle pull brackets. One of them has 2 breather tubes, and you need this if you don't have a breather hood that lets the air in. And the type that we run does not have any breather tubes, and we even adapt it to use the stock rubber grommet, so we block out all the water intrusion through the bracket. If your ski doesn't have a breather hood, don't worry, not all is lost. There can be some things done to help you prevent water ingestion. So imagine this bracket's installed in your ski, handle pull's up here, and the hole is here, and down below, your steering cable and everything's coming out of the tube. Well, when the ski's upside down, this is a big problem, because as the nose of the ski sinks, the water line comes above this, and the water comes in through the bottom and fills up your ski. So the way you combat that is use extra long tubes and make sure that they're slid down as far as you can get them, or at least as close to the bottom of the hole as you can get. That way when your ski is upside down, the water line on the outside of the ski should never come above this. So you're never going to have water coming in through the bottom of this tube. If you've ever ridden in the surf with Stuart or I, you obviously know that we're big about safety and we like to get new people in the surf. Well, part of bringing new people into the surf is that you got to keep them safe, otherwise they're never going to come back. I'm going to start with some simple things, one of them being a tow loop front and rear. The tow loops make sure that when you're towing someone, you have something to hook to, and if someone needs to tow you, the same thing. They have something to hook to. The second thing is a tow rope. RSKI has a tow rope. This is the very first one I made in 2010, and I still use it to this day. I've never had to replace it. And you just grab these and pull, and it comes right out. The main thing with our tow rope is that it has carabiners that won't fall off the rope, and both ends of the rope float. The reason for this is because the very first time I used this tow rope in the surf, I was stressed out, I was getting hit in the face, couldn't breathe, and I dropped the tow rope and it was gone. So that's not a good thing. The next big thing about safety is hood straps. Hood straps are very cheap and they're a redundant safety system to keep your hood on. The quickest way to sink any jet ski is to have the hood fall off. And this is our standard setup. We run a hood latch and very high quality buckles on our hood strap kit. You must keep the hood on. Next on the safety list is a limiting rope. This is the RSKI limiting rope, and anything that prevents your handle pull from overextending reliably is a good limiting rope. Doesn't have to be a RSKI one. One of the main points about a limiting rope is that you cannot hook it to your hood latch. The reason that's a bad idea is because when you hit the end of your limiting rope, sometimes you hit it very hard and you're putting all that force directly on your hood latch. That's a really good way to break your hood latch. If your hood latch breaks, you're probably going to lose your hood. They should be two separate things, and a failure of one should not lead to the failure of the other. This thing on here is a flexible material that I designed and 3D printed. The rope is woven through it and it acts like a spring. So when you hit the end of the rope, it's a soft impact rather than a very sharp impact. Like I said, I broke my wrist on one of these, so I gotta save everything I can now. Another thing that I think is a safety requirement in the surf is to have a quick start device so that when your lanyard falls out, you can just reach forward and pull that under and hit the start button and get out of there. Then you can get into a safe place and put your lanyard back in. It doesn't matter what brand you go with. This one was designed by Stuart and I in 2014, I believe. And it's not for sale or anything, but there's plenty of other good options on the market now. The last thing I want to talk about for safety is the flexible steering pad. And we designed these to fit every aftermarket steering perfectly, depending on your configuration. So when you get it, it'll come and it'll zip tie in place, exact fit to your setup, and it'll protect you on the top, on the front, and on the bottom. So there's no exposed bolts or anything to hit your knee on. That covers the main safety gear. Let's talk about my favorite performance mod, because everybody always wants to know what's the first thing I should do on my Superjet. If you ask me, I think the throttle is the most important thing on the jet ski. If you cannot control the throttle accurately and quickly, you're gonna have a really tough time in the surf. This is probably my favorite throttle. It's a TBM throttle. It pivots on this bolt here, so you can actually adjust this angle. It's not the most robust. I have broke 2 or 3 of these in the surf over the years, but I keep going back to it and I really like it. My steering is basically what I call the Frankenstein OVP. It's a RRP steering that I modified. Wouldn't recommend doing this. I just was saving some money. This original RRP steering uses steel bearings. I have never been able to keep the salt water out of a bearing on these, so I converted it and I use a bushing steering. So the two main things about a steering system that I like are OVP, or very close to OVP, and I like bushing systems, not bearing systems. I like to run a straight handlebar. I don't think it's like an absolute rule or that means that straight is better, but when I ran riser bars, I put a lot of stress on my back. So the straight bar prevents you from having to reach up so high when you pull yourself back into the tray, and that back pain immediately went away. The other thing I should talk about is how long should your handle pull be? This is a common question. The perfect location we've found is that your grips are needing to be basically in line with the back of the stock hood, or right in line with the hood latch. All right, let's pop the hood, see what's under there. Little pro tip here, if you have a RSKI limiting rope and you're gonna take the hood off, just hook it on the throttle and then it's always out of the way. Did I just say pro tip? What an idiot. It's just a B pipe, an ADA head, and a stock gas tank, and a full-size battery. I like to have a full-size battery so I never run out of cranking power when I need it. The main thing I want you to think about when you open the hood on one of these is that you run the stock air box. And the reason for that is it's the most protective against water intrusion. There's no comparison. Those are the stock 38 carburetors, and there's an MSD inside the E-box. And we run the OCD Solutions bilge pump switch. Both the bilge pumps are mounted down by the mid shaft. I also have the stock siphon in there. I'll show you Stewart's ski right now because it's torn apart. This is what the bilge pump setup looks like. And you see the stock siphon right there at the front underneath the coupler. That's 3 forms of water removal. So that's pretty awesome. I think the stock siphon is awesome. As long as your engine is running, there's no moving parts required, and it's always removing water from your hull. This is a custom-made fiberglass hood lip that's an L shape, and it's riveted in place all the way around. This hood lip serves 2 functions. It adds stiffness to the hole in this direction. When you land a barrel roll, the hole tends to crack right here, and this adds some rigidity to that, preventing so much flex. The other thing that this does is it provides something for the hood to sit on that it cannot slide off of. So when you have your hood straps holding your hood on, the combination of the hood straps with this lip means your hood cannot slide off one side to one side or the other. So they work in conjunction with each other. The last thing to mention under here is just the reinforcement. All these skis are completely reinforced in every surface, everywhere. When you look at the front here, we've reinforced even the bottom of this pole bracket area, and this has a fiberglass plate on top as well. This is 5/8 of an inch thick fiberglass right here. As I mentioned earlier, this handle pole bracket is moved 2 inches forward from the stock location. I don't think that's really necessary, but all of our skis are that way. When you do that, you have to run the stock length handle pole to get the right pole length. This ski is actually going to be taken apart soon. I'm going to take it to Nebraska and I'm going to give it to my mom. She rides stand-ups as well, and she just loves riding this ski. And then I'm going to take the running gear out of there and I'm going to build this Superjet, which is the same as Stewart's Superjet, the newer hull. Super stoked about that. You'll see videos and pictures on that build video. I'm going to take actually the original engine from the 2000 Superjet is going back in that ski. It's never been rebuilt. I've ran it for hundreds and hundreds of hours in salt water, and it's going to go back to Nebraska. Once Stewart gets back in town, we'll do a deep dive on his Superjet. As you can see, Risky's always got projects going, and this is Stu's current project with his entire engine disassembled because his crank just blew up last ride. Whoa, it's hot in here. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time.